Hi there. Welcome to our intensive chair yoga training. My name is Emily and I'm the owner at Lilac Lotus Yoga and the creator of your course. This course will teach you how to create fun, safe, and interactive yoga classes that will keep your students interested in coming back for more. So whether you're just trying to support your current students in your group classes, or if you're looking to teach a lot of chair yoga, regardless, you're going to find a ton of information in this course that will help you. Throughout it, you'll find videos, a lot of content, and I am always here to support you if you have any questions, so feel free to reach out. I'm really excited for you, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. See you then. Hey there. Let's open up this training and talk a little bit about trauma-informed yoga practices and why this is so important, especially in a chair yoga environment. So, trauma-informed yoga, eventually it's going to just be called yoga. As yoga teachers, inevitably we're moving in this direction where we're becoming more accepting of our clients and more understanding, and I think that that's really important. For a while, westernized yoga moved away from that principle a little bit and focused on the asanas and the perfection of the practice. Well, at Lilac Lotus Yoga, we really started with this mission to make everybody feel comfortable in our classes. And there's a lot of reasons why an individual may not feel comfortable. A huge reason, very common reason, is that that student has some kind of trauma. Now, this may be a trauma that is totally unrelated to their yoga practice, or it may be a trauma that was specifically caused by a yoga practice. And unfortunately, this does happen, physical and emotional type trauma. So we are going to look at how we can structure these yoga classes so that if somebody has had trauma or experienced trauma, we do not do any further damage to increase that trauma based on our practice as a teacher. It's really easy as a yoga teacher to get caught up in this idea that we have to be perfect, right? We're teaching this perfect yoga flow or yin yoga class, and we're focusing on the postures and how they flow and all of these things that we learn in our 200-hour yoga teacher training. But if we bring it back, the whole purpose that we're there, the whole reason that we're there is to support our students. So it's not about the perfect yoga flow. It's not about challenging our students to their max or taking it way too easy. We're there to support our students in what they need, and this begins with developing a trauma-informed routine and then applying that to all of our classes, not just our chair yoga classes. Now, this idea is particularly important, as you'll read on after this video, for chair yoga because many of these students have experienced trauma in their body somewhere. That's why we're setting them up in a chair to begin with. Particularly if you have a couple of students in a chair and the rest of the students are not modifying in a chair. We need to understand how we can teach to the student in the chair, make them feel supported and comfortable without putting too much focus and attention on them. We don't want them to feel like we don't think that they can do something, right? We don't want them to feel isolated or pointed out in a group setting. So there are ways that you can teach these classes so that no one student feels isolated or like you're specifically teaching to them. As you read on, we'll also talk about the order and the things that you can do for a trauma-informed class, like how we set up classes, how we teach these classes, how we end these classes, and then how we provide support for our students who come to us with trauma and questions and things of that nature. So where our boundary lies as a yoga teacher, since we are not therapists, or many of us are not therapists. So that's what we're going to learn in this section. I hope that you find it really interesting and then can apply this to all of your classes. As always, I'm here to support you, so if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me. Good luck. So let's talk a little bit about our boundaries as a yoga teacher. So like I said in the previous video, most of us are not therapists. We're not psychiatric therapists and we're not physical therapists. And so there is a line for the amount of advice that you can give to your students. For example, if you had a student that's experiencing some new knee pain and some general light stretching and physical activity is not making it better and time hasn't made it better, I would strongly suggest to that student that they go speak to their doctor so that they can then get referred to a physical therapist. Physical therapists are super, super awesome. We never want to offer any sort of medical advice. Anytime we are offering advice to our students, it has to be within the realm of a yoga class. This doesn't mean that our students can't come to our classes. I always let students know that no matter what they're going through physically or emotionally, they're always welcome in my class, and that I'll do whatever I can to support them. At the very minimum, a student could come into class and just rest. They could take a restorative yoga position. They could lie on their back or sit in their chair and just take that time for themselves. They don't have to participate in the physical asana aspect of class. And sometimes that's what our students need. The same goes for our students emotionally. On occasion, a student will feel comfortable enough with you to express a lot of what's going on in their life. And it's important to hold space for those students to not offer any judgment or very serious psychiatric advice. I usually just listen. I take it in. I let my students know that they're always welcome in my class. And then I recommend that they find somebody to speak to. So for example, I'll say, do you have anybody in your life that you can really talk to about this? And sometimes they'll say yes, and sometimes they'll say no. And if they say no, you just let them know that there are options out there, all kinds of options nowadays to be able to talk to somebody. So we don't want to offer too much advice that's outside of our realm. And we'll see this a lot with chair yoga clients because they'll be going through a lot of physical type of ailments. And so it's important just to know where you feel comfortable. If you feel really uncomfortable, you might check out some sort of anatomy and physiology course in relation to yoga. It might help you feel more confident in that area. As always, if you have questions about this subject or trauma-informed yoga, please reach out. So we're going to begin this section with a few pranayama techniques that can be used to help your students warm up, to transition from the day that they've had into their yoga practice. And you could use these as part of your cool down practice as well, but we'll get to that a little bit later in the training. So I'm seated right now just in a comfortable, easy seat, but you can do and teach these from the seated chair position as well. Most of the time in a chair class, that's where we're going to be. Okay, so beginning today with 3-point breathing. So 3-point breathing, also known as snowman breathing, we breathe into the 3 quadrants of the abdomen, beginning with the belly, so from hip bone to hip bone here. This is our low belly, up into the rib cage, so just below the sternum, that side of the body that expands when we breathe in and out. And then ending with the very top part of the chest, filling up to the top of the lungs and even a little bit into the throat area. The benefits of this type of breathing is they help teach our students how to control their breath. So we're focusing on pushing that air down and then slowly breathing that air out. So let's go through it together. Find a comfortable seat, again on the floor or in your chair, and I'm going to cue you through this. Feel free to review how to cue this afterwards by playing the video back again. Okay. So we're going to start with our hands resting comfortably in our lap or on our knees. We've got a nice long spine, shoulders relaxed down away from the ears. Inhale. Exhale, push all the air out. Inhale, fill just your belly. Exhale, belly. Inhale, fill belly. Up to the ribs. Exhale, ribs. Belly. Inhale, belly. Ribs. Chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, and belly. Now you can cue your students to breathe in and out of their nose, or if they prefer, they can breathe in through the nose and out of the mouth. Let's do that again. Inhale, fill belly. Exhale. Inhale, belly. Ribs. Exhale, ribs. Belly. Inhale, belly. Ribs. Chest. Exhale, chest. Ribs. And belly. Excellent job. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Again, that's 3-point breathing. Hey there, welcome to Pranayama Part 2. In this video, we're going to focus on block breathing. So block breathing is a useful technique to help our students gain control over their breath and then to also strengthen their lungs and their respiratory system. So block breathing, I like to use this visual. You can use this with your students as well to help explain the first couple of times. So in block breathing, we're going to breathe in the shape of a block. We're going to inhale for a set number, hold the breath at the top for that same number, exhale that same number, and then hold our breath at the bottom. Now it's important to note that this type of breathing isn't strongly recommended for anyone with high blood pressure, so you may just let your students know that ahead of time and then provide an alternative option for them, possibly just relaxing breathing or 3-point breathing like we covered in the previous section. So back into this block breathing. Now we breathe to counts of maybe 4 to 7 or 8 at the top. I usually like to begin with 4. So it would be an inhale of 4, hold of 4, exhale of 4, and hold of 4. We always repeat the number at least 2 times. So in this demonstration, we're going to breathe to 2 counts of 4 and 2 counts of 5. And I'll demonstrate how I count with my fingers to help myself keep track and provide a small visual aid for our students if they need it. So block aside. We're going to start in our comfortable seat. Again, we can be seated up in a chair or we can be in this comfortable seat down here on the floor. Students will rest their hands in their lap. Take a big breath in. Push all the air out. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe in, breathe out, and we can return to our natural breathing. So again, maybe count of 4, possibly up to 7 or 8 for more advanced practitioners with their pranayama techniques. Not recommended for those with high blood pressure, and you can use that block as a handy guide. If you have any questions, just reach out. Welcome to our Part 3 pranayama video. In this video, we're going to cover Nadi Shishasana, or alternative nostril breathing. So alternative nostril breathing, it used to be really super popular. And then we all started wearing masks and covering up our face, so it was a little bit more challenging to teach this practice. I really like it. It calms the central nervous system, and if you're in a group where you're not wearing masks and your students feel comfortable enough to touch their face, this is a great one to warm up with and to cool down with too, honestly. So, Nadi Shashasana, alternative nostril breathing. We are going to start by using our dominant hand. I'm going to use my right hand, but I'm mirroring you. Keep that in mind. We're going to plug our right nostril. So we're going to start on the right side. I'm going to use my right hand. And I'm going to use my center finger and my pointer finger here. Okay? There are a lot of techniques for being able to go back and forth between the sides. I just like to let my students do what feels most comfortable to them. So we're going to start by plugging the right side of the nostril. Let's breathe in through the left. Hold, switch, plug left side, breathe out through right. Inhale right. Switch, exhale. So that's the basic pattern. That's one whole session, right? And we can do multiple sessions, maybe 5 to 6, depending on how much time you have. Okay, so let's do a full example of 2 to 3 sessions of alternative nostril breathing. This is exactly how I would cue it. Feel free to go back and review this video to help yourself cue it as well. All right, students, we are going to work on our Nadi Shashasana, alternative nostril breathing. I'd like you to start by taking your dominant hand and closing your right nostril. Please remember that I'm mirroring you in this practice. Inhale through the left side. Hold and switch. Exhale right. Inhale right. Switch. Exhale left. Inhale. Switch. Exhale. Inhale. Switch. Exhale. Inhale. Switch. And exhale. Release your hand. Clear your nose. Excellent job. So you might notice that as we move through those sessions, so getting to 3 or 4 or 5, we start to cue a little bit slower. So we're lengthening that inhale, lengthening the exhale, and that's helping our students gain lung control. This type of practice is also really good just for grounding and centering, as it helps to bring ourselves back into our body, because we really have to focus while we do it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Welcome to our final video for our pranayama techniques. In this video, we're going to cover cyclical breathing, sometimes called circular breathing. So this type of breathing is really good for grounding. It offers a visualization to our students, and it can help them let go of the day that they've had and start their day over with their practice. I like to use this type of breathing in meditation practices as well. This is another one that can be performed seated just like I am, or upright in your chair position. So we call this cyclical breathing because we're breathing in a circle. Now, naturally we breathe in through one side of our nostrils more often than the other. It's not an even flow of air through both sides. And this actually can depend on the time of year and even the time of day, depending on which side is dominant. So what we're going to do is we're going to imagine that we could breathe in through just our right nostril and breathe out through just our left. Now, of course, this isn't totally possible, but the focusing aspect of it will help us to feel the breath move in this way. So as we do that, we're going to imagine that there's this big circle of breath flowing. I like to imagine it as a circle of light, of twisting colors of light or sparkling colors of light. Whatever comes naturally to the student is just fine. So let's go ahead and practice this together. I'm going to demonstrate to you how I would cue it in a group setting. Follow along with me. All right, so we are going to work on our cyclical breathing. I invite you just to close your eyes, to take a breath, to drop the shoulders. Now I'd like you to imagine that you could breathe in through just your right nostril and breathe out through just your left. Just imagine what this would be like. Inhaling through the right and exhaling through the left. If you like, you can imagine a circling of brightly colored light flowing in through the right and out through the left. Now I'd like you to imagine that you could breathe in through just your left nostril and out through just your right. A circling of brightly colored light in through the left and out through the right. Release the breath in your circles and open up your eyes. Excellent job. So teachers, I usually give my students an opportunity to do 4 or 5 repetitions of those circles before we reverse. If you have a lot of extra time, you could go up to even 10 minutes or so. That would be great as a cool down option too. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Hello, welcome to our chair warm-up video. In this video, we're going to cover a few warm-up poses and stretches that you can do after your pranayama before you really get into the heart of your practice. So we're going to be seated down here in a chair, starting in our seated mountain pose with our spine long away from the chair, and then we're going to draw our hands to our heart. Finding that engagement of the core as we lift through the chest. And then on our inhale, we're going to sweep up. Now you can cue your students to look at your thumbs as long as it feels comfortable on their neck. Inhale, sweeping up. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Nice job. We're going to rest our hands on our knees and circle out the shoulders. Maybe 5 or 6 and then reversing. I always like to do circles. I feel like circles move the energy through the body. We'll do a couple neck circles. Nice and slow. And again, reversing. And coming back to center. Let's roll out the wrists. So if you're teaching 100% seated class, you might take these stretches pretty slow to help extend some of your time that you have to take up. If you're teaching a partially standing class, maybe go a little bit quicker through these, more of that yang energy as we really get moving. We're going to go down to the ankles, give them a nice roll, stretch out the toes. And then grounding our feet back into the mat, we're going to inhale, sweep up. Go into our side bend options. So the first option is to grab onto the chair for support, that top arm reaching up and over. Second option is to let this hand hang. And then on our exhale, we're going to cactus this arm, bring the elbow back and over. Inhale up and exhale, cactus. Inhale, take both arms up. And then exhale, side bend to second side. Again, hand can hover or hold. And then exhale, cactus. Inhale. exhale. On our inhale, we'll sweep arms up. And then exhale, hands to our knees. Let's turn this into some circling here. So if you need to, you can scoot forward a little bit on your chair. We're gonna arch at the front like a cow pose and round at the back like a cat. Reversing. Moving in a way that feels good for your body to move. And then coming back to center. Again, planted through our feet. Let's inhale, lift heart through cow pose. Shoulders come down, chins go up. And then exhale, round into cat, pressing your spine back into the chair and chin to chest. Inhale, arch cow. And exhale, cat. On our inhale, we'll lift through our heart, sweep our arms up. And then let's step the feet about as wide as the chair, scoot forward a little bit more, and exhale into our forward fold. Dropping hands down, let the head hang, maybe shake it out. And then option to have your students reach through for the legs of the chair and pull themselves down. Release, inhale, roll up. Sweep the arms to the sky. And exhale, Samasthiti. Nice job, everybody. So that is a quick chair warm-up or a long chair warm-up, depending on how you'd like to sequence it. You could also mix in a few traditional neck stretches, you know, like a little side to side, maybe look right and left and chin to chest. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Hey there, welcome to our twist, folds, and back bends, an introduction to our seated chair yoga. So these poses can be included in your warm-up or as a part of your flow to peak for the seated portion of your class. Our same rules remain. Remember to remind students that they don't have to close their eyes and that they can always keep their chin tucked to their chest for balance. Let's go ahead and begin in this comfortable seat that we find ourselves in. Feet grounded down, and then we're going to scoot forward slightly on our chair. Resting hands on knees, we'll begin with seated cat and cow. Inhale, arch into cow. And exhale, round into cat. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. On our inhale, we'll lift our heart through center. Let's stretch our arms out to a T. Anytime our arms are extended, we have to make sure that we engage our core. We're going to T-twist. Let's focus on keeping hips and knees pointed straight ahead, and then we're going to twist to the right. Looking up and over the shoulder. Through center and to the left. Through to the right. And the left. One more time. To the right. And the left. Back through center. Inhale here. Exhale, forward fold. Remember, we can set those feet wide for a little bit more space in our fold. Let's drop our head down and shake it out. Release all the tension in your neck and in your jaw. Then we'll inhale, rise, sweep arms up to the sky. And exhale, let it go, forward fold. Inhale, sweep up with a strong core. Lots of energy in the fingers. And then exhale, fold. Inhale, rise, sweep arms up. And exhale, hands to heart center. Going to transition into a seated camel pose. And we're going to start with our modified version. So modified, the most simple version, both feet stay flat. We're going to take the hands to the back, either the side of the chair or down to the seat of the chair, and then just arch into that little back bend. Now to demonstrate from the side, we are seated forward, ankles right underneath knees, hands come behind the back, and we're going to arch from the tailbone up through into the upper back. Now it's important to squeeze the shoulder blades together. Your students can keep their chin tucked to their chest or drop the head behind. We hold back bends 2 to 3 breaths. To safely release, we draw chin to chest, then release the hands and counter in forward fold. Inhale, rise. Now our second option is to take an eagle leg variation. So we're going to cross one knee over the other, just like we were sitting cross-legged in a chair. Now if this isn't comfortable or accessible, we can try a pigeon position where the ankle is crossed over the knee. Inhale as we sweep those arms up. Exhale, drop the hands back behind. Lift from the pelvis, squeeze the shoulder blades, drop the head. Eagle pose. Inhale, lift the heart, chin to chest. Release the leg and forward fold. Inhale, slowly rise, hands to knees. So that's one side. You would, of course, repeat that on the other side. So just to review, we have 2 options. Traditional, hands behind the back, feet nice and flat, arching into camel. And then the eagle leg variation, knee over knee, arching the back into camel. Let's switch now and focus on a hamstring stretch. So we're going to stretch our right leg out. Let's keep the left knee bent. We can start by hovering the foot, rolling out the ankle a few times, flexing and pointing the foot. And then eventually we'll rest the foot down and just relax it. On our inhale, we'll engage our core, sweep arms up to the sky. Exhale into our modified fold, interlace the fingers, drop the hands to the knee, tip forward and drop down. Remember to encourage your students to lengthen their spine as they fold, as opposed to rounding. We want to stretch out farther than we drop. Now you might notice if you point the foot or flex, it's a lot different sensation in this hamstring here. Second option is inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, we draw both hands down the leg into a fold. We can also support the hands on either side of the leg with blocks. Drop the head down and breathe. Round the back as we roll up and release down to our hips, beginning with pigeon pose and the modified version of this stretch. Remember, we always offer the modification to our students first. So beginning with modified pigeon, we have the option to, instead of drawing ankle all the way up over the knee, to instead cross ankle over knee and then to rest the legs down. So feet flat on the floor or extended slightly from the bottom. Inhale as we sweep the arms up. Exhale, students draw their hands to their thighs and then tip forward at the waist, encouraging the hip to stretch. They also have the option to extend the fingers down towards the mat and drop the head. To roll out of this, we round the back, rise, and release the legs. So that's our modified version. Now we have our seated version of pigeon. So we're going to cross left or right ankle over the opposite knee. Now it's important to flex this foot to engage all the muscles along the calf and the lower leg. Our students are going to have varying degrees of flexibility here. So the knee might be high up, and that's okay. I like to demonstrate this and let the students know that. It also might be relaxed and down depending on how flexible their hips are. We encourage students to have ankle crossed right over knee, but sometimes that doesn't feel very good with the ankle bone, in which case they can slide that leg down just a little bit. So wherever they like to be, grounded down through our grounded leg, we're going to inhale, sweep those arms up, and then Exhale, place hand on knee and ankle. We can stay tall just by pressing that knee down slightly, or for a deeper stretch, tip forward at the waist and fold. Remember, students who have their knees high up here, it may not be comfortable to fold, so they're just going to put a little bit of pressure on the knee. Just like that. And then slowly rise. And release. So to review, we have ankle crossed over ankle. We can stay here in an upright fold or let the arms extend down. Still pigeon pose. Or we have ankle over knee. We can stay up tall, putting gentle pressure on that knee, or tip forward at the waist and fold. Now let's look at a twist. So if we have ankle over ankle in our modified pigeon fold, we're going to inhale, sweep those arms up. Exhale, take left hand. In other words, the ankle that's crossed over the top, place it on the thigh, and then we're going to take right hand behind the back and twist. So we're tipping forward slightly. See how we're dropping that opposite shoulder down, looking over. We come back through center and then revolve that twist. Now right hand is to the left thigh, left hand is behind the back. We tip forward and twist. Come back through center. So it's a fold and a twist ankle. You can see this a little bit better with ankle over knee. So we would start putting gentle pressure on that lifted knee and then twist in the opposite direction. So we're pushing this knee down and away as we lift. Now our counter twist through center, opposite hand still comes and presses on that knee, pushing it down and away. We lift the heart and then twist and look over. And back through center. And that is our pigeon twist, both counter and the traditional twist. Let's inhale, sweep it up. We want to release the low back after all that stretching, and exhale, forward fold. Now this time in our fold, you might reach back behind to make the stretch deeper. So you can see from the side here, we can reach back, grab the front legs of the chair, or take this stretch really deep, reach for the back legs. For an even deeper stretch, you can widen the feet, drop the heart, reach hands through the legs of the chair, all the way to the back, and drop the head. So any degree of flexibility is fine in this fold. And release. Inhale, reach those arms up. Exhale, hands to heart center. All right. So that was our twists and our folds, a few examples there. Again, you can add any of these poses in the warm-up section or as a part of your flow to peak for the seated portion of your class. If you have any questions, please reach out. Welcome. This is our Stretching 101, so our beginner version of teaching stretching poses seated in our chair. This is going to be a review of some poses that we've already looked at in previous sections and a few new poses. Any of these poses can be used during the warm-up, the flow to peak, or potentially the cool down portion of your class after you've gone through your more intense part of your practice. So we're going to start with a side bend. Our feet are flat, a little bit wide, so we've got a nice firm base. On our inhale, we'll sweep those arms up. Exhale, side bend. Remember, we can float this hand or reach for the leg of the chair. And let's just cartwheel over to the other side. Cueing with the breath, inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale, sweep up, and exhale, forward fold. Remember, in our forward fold, we can have those feet nice and wide. We can also reach through and grab the legs, or wrap our hands around our own legs and wrap our feet down. Release, round your back and roll up, hands to the knees. Now let's go for pigeon. Remember, we can cross ankle over ankle or ankle over knee. Relax this knee down, sit up nice and tall, and we're going to pulse. So we're going to tip forward and rise. Inhale, exhale. Use that exhale to get a little bit deeper into the stretch each time. Release this side. I'll show the modification on second side. Ankle over ankle. Lift the heart. Bend the elbows. Fold. And rise. Uncross the legs. So we've talked about this before, the reason why we show that modification first. It's so important. We want students to have the most accessible option first so that they know that there is an option for them and that they don't give up before we show that modification. That's very important. Next, we're going to look at our hamstrings. Let's stretch our right leg out. Roll the ankle a few times. We can rest hands on thighs or maybe hands on hips. Point and flex the foot. Then we're going to extend this leg long. If you're short like me, you might have to scoot forward, or cue your students to scoot forward as well. On our inhale, we'll reach up. Exhale, modify, hands to knee and fold. Or hands fold down along the leg. Rise, and then switch sides. Roll it out. Engage the core, flex and point. Then release the leg to the ground, nice and extended. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Hands to knee, hands down along the leg. And rise, release. Scooting back in our chair so we feel nice and stable. Let's roll the shoulders. Sending our focus now to our upper body. And reverse. Beautiful. Encourage your students to draw in their core or support their back with their chair. We'll take right arm across the body. Depending on how much time you have, you can hold this for anywhere between 2 and even 10 breaths. We're just going to roll out the wrist as well. Let's push into the elbow, take the hand behind the back like you were going to pat yourself on the back. Actively press into that elbow. Then release, swing the arm up and over, bend the elbow, reach back and pull the elbow behind the ear. Chin tucks down towards chest. And release, switch sides, arm across the body, roll it out. Press into elbow, pat yourself on the back. Release, swing that arm up, grab the elbow, pull it behind the ear. And release. Let's open our arms out to cactus. Engage the core, that's especially important here. This is our cactus flower. We're going to inhale, open it up. Squeeze shoulder blades, pull elbows slightly down, option to lift the chin. And then exhale, close cactus flower. Palms touch, elbows touch. Inhale, open. And exhale, close. Inhale, open. And this time we're going to pulse. We're going to pull elbows down and reach palms up. You can follow the thumbs with the eyes. Or keep chin at chest. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, release your cactus flower and fold. Inhale, round your back, hands to knees. Switching our focus now to our inner thighs, let's step our feet wide. This can be more comfortable towards the front of the chair. And like in any goddess pose, our toes are turned out. So this is a lot of pressure on the knees and the ankles to have them turn forward. We want to turn them out to the side. On our inhale, we lift our heart. Exhale, press the knees away from each other as we tip forward. Soft elbows here. Inhale, lift. Exhale, drop right shoulder down. Bend into that elbow twist and look over. Inhale, center. Then exhale, switch. Inhale, center. Exhale, let's try that forward one more time. Press the knees out. And rise. And we'll bring our legs in. So after a while, sitting in the chair can have some adverse effects on the low back. So we want to make sure we're countering that in our practice as well. We're going to start by bringing one knee into the chest. So we have a couple options. You can reach behind the thigh, just like this, or if it's accessible, you can wrap your hands around the front of the shin and then pull the knee up. And I like to start just with a few ankle rolls here. We can feel that rounding already in the low back, countering any back bending we've been doing. We're going to take this into some circles. We have 3 levels. Our most modified, circling with both hands on the knee. So here or here. We're drawing in that core, keeping the upper body nice and still. Second level, one hand on the hip. Most challenging level, both hands on the hips. Now we really have to use the core to lift that knee up and over. And just like all of our other circles, we make sure that we reverse as well. So to review quickly on second side, we have knee up into chest. We can grab behind the thigh. We can grab the shin, and we roll that ankle out. Then we have our 3 levels of circles. Both hands on the knee. One hand on the knee. Or no hands on the knee. And then we make sure we reverse. And I usually do about 6 to 8 circles per side per reversal. Let's scoot back. Relax the legs, take a deep breath. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, draw them through heart center. Our final area to stretch today is our hands and our wrists, and I like to incorporate this at the end of practice after we've been using them quite a bit. So we're going to start just with some circles. We use our hands quite often and very rarely do we stretch them. Then we're going to reach our hands out to a T, flex your fingers up towards the sky. Slowly lift. Keep flexing. Press the palms away and then slowly drop the hands down. You may feel this sensation all the way up your arms. Back to our T. Now we're going to switch. We're going to curl the fingers in towards the armpits. Slowly lift. And then slowly lower. And release. Now we can press on the back of one hand, fingers point down. Roll from the pinky to the finger. Reverse. Not as easy to roll on the reversal, but that's okay. Switching sides. Rolling across the back of the hand. And reverse, pressing into the palm. Release. Should feel some blood moving into the hands, maybe down along the arms. You can warm your hands together as well to get all of that energy flowing. All right, so this is our video for seated sun salutation A. Like all sun salutations, this is going to help your students connect with their breathing, and then to also ground them into their seat as they begin their practice. Now remember, each movement in a sun salutation has a corresponding breath, but those breaths can be as slow or as quick as your student prefers. So once the students learn the routine, I usually encourage them to move at their own pace. So we're going to begin just at a normal pace, one movement per slow breath. Starting grounded down in our chair, feet nice and flat. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Option to look to the thumbs. Exhale into a forward fold. Feet a little wide. Inhale, hands to our knees. We're going to extend our back out nice and flat. And then exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise, sweep the arms up to the sky. Draw in the core. And then exhale, cactus the arms. Squeeze shoulder blades on back. Inhale, reach up. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise, sweep arms up to the sky. Option to take it into a little back bend at the top. And exhale, Samastitihi, hands to heart center. Now this is just a basic version of Sun Salutation A. Feel free to add on to it. You can add multiple cactus arms. You can spend extra time in your forward folds. Just have fun with it so your students can enjoy their practice too. If you have any questions, go ahead and reach out. Okay, this is our video for seated Sun Salutation B. Now, just like in Sun Salutation A, we're connecting one breath per movement, but a Sun Salutation B relies a little bit more heavily on the core muscles. So, beginning with our feet down, hands resting on our knees. Drop the shoulders away from the ears. Inhale, sweep arms up. Option to take it into a little back bend. And exhale, forward fold. On our inhale, we're going to bring our right knee up into our chest. Now you can wrap your hand around your shin or wrap it to the inside of the thigh. And then we're going to arch into a seated cow pose. Spine lifts away from the chair. Exhale, round the back, nose towards knee. Inhale, release, extend arm and leg. And exhale, forward fold. Moving through second side. Inhale, left knee comes up. Arch into cow. Exhale, round into cat. Inhale, extend and reach. And exhale, forward fold. One more time through. Inhale, right knee comes up. Arch. Exhale, round. Inhale, extend. And exhale, fold. Moving through left side. Modifying this time. Inhale, left knee comes up. Gentle back bend. Exhale, round, press spine into chair. Inhale, gently extend the leg. Arms reach to a T. And exhale, release and forward. Inhale, rise, sweep arms up to the sky, maybe into that little back bend, and exhale, hands to heart center. And release. So this series flexes the spine forward and back. It also starts to open up the hips by bringing knees into chest and works slightly on the core muscles with those extensions. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Hey there, in this section we're going to look at several classic asanas that we can modify in the chair for both a 100% seated class and a combo class. So it's important that when we're teaching a combo class that we have a seated option for most, if not all, of our standing poses, and I hope that this section will help enlighten you on some of those options. So we're going to begin with a goddess pose. Goddess pose, I cue the students to just sit forward slightly on their chair. Then we're going to open the feet out nice and wide. Checking in with those toes, making sure that they're pointed out to either side. Students place their hands on their knees, and then we can tip forward. And as we do, we put gentle pressure on the insides of the thighs here. Option to lift the heart, maybe take the hands out, palms face up, and then to go a little bit side to side here. We can take our hands to our knees and find a goddess twist by dropping the right shoulder down. Softly bend the elbows, twist and look over level. Through center, and then second side, left shoulder down, twist and look over right. And back to center. We can also stretch the ankles by lifting heels up. You can cue the students to draw their heels in towards the chair a little bit to help with this. And then we can pulse. Option to add the hands. And release. So back into that nice wide stance. We're going to find a lunge position now. I'm going to show you two ways to teach lunge. So the first is with both sitting bones planted firmly in the chair. We're going to extend the left leg, and the foot is going to come down almost into a warrior two position at that long 45-degree angle. We're going to take both of the hands, press them on the right knee, and then tip forward. We're pulling this knee and thigh back, and tipping. And we'll come up. So this is almost like a warrior two in this way, which we'll cover in just a moment. Switching to a different version of our lunge, this requires turning the whole body sideways on the chair. We'll plant down through the right foot, extend the left leg long with the heel lifted. Hands can rest down on the thigh, or we can inhale and extend arms up to the sky. We can challenge our core by having our students tip forward, or bringing hands to heart center for a much more gentle approach. Coming back through our goddess. So to review on left side, we have one version of lunge. Bringing that heel in towards the chair for a deeper stretch. Or we can have the students rotate their upper body. Extend the back leg and lift the heel. Make sure this ankle is underneath the knee. Inhale, reach up for our lunge. And back through center. So that first variation is a little bit more gentle, it requires less transitioning, but the second variation is a lot closer to our standard standing lunge. So it's your option, just read the room and see how your students feel. Okay. Next we're going to take a look at warrior one. So again with our right foot, let's turn that right foot forward, we'll twist slightly in the chair and extend the leg back at a 45. Foot is planted down, inner thigh is on the edge of the chair here. Placing our hands on our hips, we're going to square them to the front knee, and then inhale, extend arms up. Warrior one. We can tip forward, humble one. On our inhale, we're going to open our heart into warrior two. Now shoulders and hips are turned towards the front of the room. Eyes look open. Inhale, reach arms up. On our exhale, we'll take it into extended side angle. Let's bring elbow down to the thigh. Top arm reaching up and over the ear for one straight line of energy from pinky to pinky. If this is too deep for the students, we can cue hand to thigh instead. And if they'd like a deeper stretch, fingers can reach down to a block or down towards the mat. Inhale, lift the heart through our warrior two, and then exhale into a reverse warrior. Remember, if students are feeling imbalanced, to keep the chin down, eyes look to the floor. We don't ever have to look up to the sky. And back through our warrior two. Bringing that leg in. Let's review on second side. Left foot forward, right leg extended back at a 45. We're going to square our hips to that left foot. Inhale, arms reach up, warrior one. Exhale, humble warrior. Inhale, reach up. And exhale, warrior two. Inhale, reach up. Exhale through to your version of extended side angle. Inhale, warrior two, and exhale, reverse warrior. Inhale, warrior two, and exhale, back to center. We're going to take the legs back in, release the low back and the core from all of that posture, and then tip forward into a fold. On our inhale, we'll roll up, shoulders down the back. For this next posture, we're going to grab a strap, just a regular yoga strap. It doesn't need to have the loop on the end. You can keep it straight just like this. We're going to take this strap and step on it with the right foot. Getting ready for seated head to knee forward bend. Let's lift up the foot here. Flex the toes back towards the face. Plant the left foot down, and then we're going to hold on to one side of the strap. Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, bend your elbows, tip forward, nose towards knee. Students have the option to take their peace fingers and reach for the big toe. Release that strap and take this version here. Okay. I'm going to show you that from the side. So we're stepping down on that foot. Heart is lifted. Extend the leg. Hold on to the strap, bend the elbows, pull nose towards knee. Option two, release the strap, take peace fingers to big toe. Okay. And we also have the option to take this out to the side. So from the side, it looks just like this. Free hand can be out to help with balance, placed on the hip, or hand down on the chair. As an alternative, we can go out to the side with our head to knee forward bend using the strap. And bring it back to center. So I like to cue students through both versions of that, and then they can decide what feels most comfortable for them. A couple things to keep in mind is we don't want our knees to hyperextend, so cue a slight bend in the knee. Let's now focus on tree pose. We're going to start by drawing our hands to our heart. Find a focus point, that drishti. Plant down through the right foot as if it's the standing leg, and then open the left knee out to an external rotation. We can start by drawing the sole of the foot into the inner right ankle. Option to stay here, or pull this foot up so that the foot is touching the inner thigh. Now this takes a lot of core strength and pressure to keep that knee there. So we're drawing all of the energy up through center. And option to extend the arms. If your students feel balanced, they can lift their chin and look to the thumbs. Releasing the way we came out, hands to heart center, and release the leg. To review on second side, hands through heart, ground left foot, open up right knee, option to stay here, or to draw that foot up, press it into the inner thigh. Option to inhale, extend arms up, maybe look to the thumbs. And release, hands to heart center. All right, so that was a few of our classic standing asanas that can be modified in a chair. Going back to what we talked about at the beginning of this course, I always like to offer the modification in the chair first. So if you're teaching a combo class and you know you have students that prefer to stay seated in the chair, demonstrate the seated version and then stand up and demonstrate the standing version for the other students. Of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. All right, welcome to our first core and cardio video. This is going to explain some simple ways that you can teach core and cardio exercises to add into a 100% seated class or into a combo seated class. We're going to begin with marching in place. Now this is going to use quadriceps and core. I encourage students to scoot forward slightly on their chair just so they've got some space. We're going to place our hands on our knees. So this is our more advanced technique. We're going to lift one knee up and then switch. Now this is a high energy portion of the class. We want to get that heart rate up. I recommend a little bit more upbeat music and some nice deep breathing. So traditionally in yoga, we breathe in and out of our nose. Now, if we're borrowing from Pilates, when we do core and cardio, we can breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, and squeeze the core. Squeeze the core each time you breathe out. This type of breathing provides a little bit of extra air to the body when it needs it. So we can modify our marching in place by wrapping hands around the seat of the chair, and then also by not extending the legs quite so much. Our second core and cardio is seated leg lifts. Again, we can have hands resting on the chair here, extending one leg, and switch, extend. Now keep in mind, students don't have to lift their legs all the way up. They can do just a small extension as long as that foot is lifting off the ground. We can make this more challenging by placing our hands on our hips. Again, this is our single leg lifts. Okay, working a little bit more into the cardio side, we're going to do jacks. We scoot forward just a little bit. Think about that traditional jumping jack and how we're going to modify that for a chair. So we're going to begin with just our legs. Hands sit on our hips. We're going to tap one foot out, bring it in. Foot stays flexed the whole time. Good. Remind your students to sit up tall. We don't want to hunch, right? We want to keep those shoulders up. So this is our legs, one side at a time. Then we have the option to add our arms. Arms come out into a cactus, one side at a time. If you want an extra challenge, we can go both sides, open and close. It's a little bit of a snapping motion. We open and close. Again, with a lot of energy here. And release. So that's 3 ways that you can work on jacks. You can feel it already a little bit in the cardio portion here. We don't have to be standing or running to get cardio. So that is really nice for our students. Next, we're going to work on knee circles. So again, slightly forward on the chair. We covered this a little bit earlier, but this time we want to focus on keeping the core really strong. So starting with the right side, we can modify by holding underneath the knee, both hands as we circle. Doing our best to keep the upper body still. Option to have one hand on the knee. Core is really strong. Or no hands on the knee. Maybe 6 to 8 circles, and then reverse. And of course, repeating on the other side. I like to put this in the warm-up as well as the core and cardio portion of the class. Now let's open out into a goddess. In goddess, we keep in mind our toes are pointed out. It helps to open up the inner thighs. We're going to interlace our fingers behind our head. Targeting the obliques, so those muscles along the side of our core. We're going to drop one elbow down, bring it up, and switch. And we don't have to have that elbow touch the knee. It's just the idea, contracting the muscles on the side. Option to reach one arm down, and switch. Again, inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Back to center. Bring those knees in. Let's keep the hands behind the head and take it into our last core and cardio, seated bicycle, opposite elbow to knee, and twist. So you'll notice we're keeping the upper body up. We're not tipping forward, but we are pulling the knee up towards the elbow. Good. Students can modify this by just twisting with upper body, or if they prefer, hands on the chair, pull one knee up and over, and switch. Good. So that's several ways you can incorporate core and cardio into your practice. Again, get creative. Just remember to cue your students to breathe and to cue them for that core engagement. If you have any questions, please reach out. In this section, we're going to take a deeper look at some of the stretches that we can do seated in our chair. They're a little bit more complicated to cue and teach, but they'll keep it mixed up and fun for your students. We're going to begin with a neck bind. To make sure we have some space, we're going to scoot forward slightly on the chair. Plant those feet down. Go ahead and relax right arm and then reach left arm through and grab the inner edge of the right elbow. If the hand doesn't reach for the bind, we can just wrap the hands around the low back and leave that right arm relaxed. Let's start by dropping right ear down to the shoulder. Tugging left shoulder down. Hold 3 to 5 breaths and then switch left ear down. Release and switch sides. Now it's normal to have one arm more flexible than the others, so if students can reach one side and not the other, that's totally fine. I like to remind them of that every now and then. Again, starting with left ear down. Hold. Switch right ear down. Hold. And release. For this next exercise, we're going to grab a strap. We're going to take the strap about 6 to 7 inches wider than the knees, feet planted down. This next stretch is only suitable for students who don't have an existing shoulder injury. On our inhale, we're going to circle up and over. Okay? Now the goal is to do this with straight arms. Inhale as we come up, and exhale, bring it down. The wider the strap, the more gentle this is. Inhale up, shoulder squeeze, and exhale up. Release our strap, and let's find a goddess position. We covered this in our last section, toes pointed out. On our inhale, we'll extend our arms. Let's roll out our wrists here. Cue some nice deep breaths. On our inhale, let's take left arm up and exhale, bring it down. Inhale right and exhale. We can do one side at a time or both. Inhale through center and exhale to a T. And release hands to knees. Placing our hands on our hips now, we're going to engage our core, lean back into our chair. From a goddess position, let's lift the legs up and out and roll the ankles. Now students can have bent knees with feet just hovering lightly over the floor. Or if they want a challenge, they can engage their core, really lift those legs up. Option to also hold the base of the chair. And release. Let's bring the legs in and shake them out. Next, we're going to visit eagle pose. So traditionally, eagle pose is more of a balancing posture, but when we use it in the chair, we can focus a lot on stretching. Let's begin by crossing our right knee over our left knee. Now, if this isn't accessible for some students, we can take ankle over knee instead, or we can extend ankle over ankle. Right knee over left, inhale arms to a cactus. Option to modify, palm to palm, elbow to elbow, or we can take that left elbow underneath the right, wrap so the backs of the hands touch, or wrap fingers till palms touch. Cue your students to gaze straight through their arms. Inhale, lift elbows up away from the body. Exhale, we're going to crunch, draw elbows towards knees. Inhale, lift heart. Pull those elbows up. And exhale, release. Moving into twist. Inhale, reach arms up. Exhale, twist in the same direction of the top knee to the right. Left hand to the outside, right hand to the back of the chair, looking over ear. And back through center. We'll uncross this leg, and let's review a modification for second side. Let's cross left ankle over right ankle. Legs extended with knees soft. Inhale, arms to cactus. Exhale, palms and elbows to touch. Inhale, lift elbows up away from the body. Exhale, pull elbows down towards knees and crunch. Inhale, lift elbows up away from the body. And exhale, release. Inhale, sweep arms up. And exhale, twist to the left. Inhale, center. Release arms and legs. And we could scoot back on our chair. Awesome job. So this is a couple fun yoga poses and stretches that I really like to incorporate into my classes. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Hi there, welcome to our Sun Salutation A video. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to lead your students through the standing version of Sun Salutation A without having to come down to the ground and get on those sensitive spots like the knees or the wrists. So we're going to start facing our chair with it at the front of our space, the back side of the chair facing us. Fingertips should be just about touching here. Then for our Sun Salutation A, we're going to sweep up into our Tadasana, big extension of the arms. And then exhale into a forward fold. So if your students like, they can fold with hands to the seat of the chair, maybe even bent knees. Or if they prefer, they can take a step back and fold down towards the mat. On our inhale, we'll come to a flat back, taking our hands to the back of the chair. And then exhale, stepping back into downward facing dog. In downward dog with the chair, we want our hands as wide as the back of it and our feet as wide as our hips. Inhale as we look to our hands. We're going to take a couple steps up and sweep the arms. Let's do that again. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale, step back, downward facing dog. This time, maybe they'd like to rock their hips a little bit, holding 3 to 5 breaths. Inhale, looking to hands, stepping up and through, and sweeping those arms to the sky. And exhale, Samastitihi, hands to heart center. All right, so that is a simple version of Sun Salutation A. You could add as many embellishments to that as you like. It's traditional for Sun Salutation A to be repeated 2 to 3 times per class, so just keep that in mind. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Welcome to part 2 of our standing sun salutations for Sun Salutation B. We're going to go ahead and start with our chair facing us, just like in Sun Salutation A. It's a nice, easy transition from this point. So starting with fingertips reaching towards the chair. On our inhale, we'll sweep up into our mountain pose, standing Tadasana, and then exhale into forward fold. Again, we can take hands to the seat of the chair, or take a little step back and fold down towards the mat. On our inhale, we'll take hands to the back of the chair for a flat back, and then exhale, step into downward facing dog. On our inhale, we'll look to our hands and we're going to take a big step forward with our right foot, then anchor down the left foot at a 45. This is our warrior one position. Can cue your students to have the hands on the chair the whole time if they need the support, or if they're feeling balanced, to take arms up to the sky. Maybe holding for a few breaths. And then to release, we're going to take hands to the chair, step through, and exhale back into downward facing dog. To work second side, inhale, look to hands. Step forward with left foot, back with right, down at a 45. Option to reach arms up for warrior one. Engaging core, cueing that extension of the arms. Then we'll inhale. Exhale, plant hands on chair, step through, downward facing dog. Our sun salutation B, we're going to do a chair pose. On our inhale, we look to our hands, walk your feet up to the top. Maybe feet are touching, maybe feet hips distance. And then we're going to sink into our chair pose. Okay. Now, option to have hands at heart center. Option to have arms extended up overhead. Good, inhale, reach arms up. And exhale, release in a forward fold. Inhale, roll up nice and slow. So that is one way that you can cue sun salutation B. A lot slower transitions than we showed today, maybe 3 to 5 breaths per pose. The second transition, which is a little bit more gentle, a little bit easier, is from our mountain pose, we plant hands on the chair, a little step forward with the right, a big step back with the left, down at that 45. So here's that transition into warrior one. Then we just step through, left foot stays forward, right foot steps back into our warrior one. So that's the difference. Instead of being back here at downward facing dog, and stepping through, that takes a little bit more core, a little bit more balance. Okay. So there's no right or wrong way to teach either of those sequences. Kind of feel out your class and notice how they're feeling. And if they need some help with the transitions, slow it way down and cue them to use their core. That'll really help. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Hey there! In this section, we're going to cover classic asanas modified with the chair while standing. So we're going to use the chair as a prop, like we would a wall or a block, to help keep balance and to find proper alignment within some of our classic standing poses. In the next section, you'll take a deeper look at some of these poses and advanced teaching options. So we're going to start actually seated in our chair for this first one. Chair pose with chair support, beginning with our modified version. So we're going to start by going up and down out of the chair. This pose is going to tone ankles, calves, knees, quads, and core. Starting modified, we plant our feet down. Cue your students to have your feet as wide as they feel comfortable with, and they may adjust it as we go through. We're going to place our hands on the seat of our chair. On our inhale, we're going to push up through our hands, lift into a high chair, draw hands through heart center, and sink down into a low chair. We'll hold, then place hands back on the seat and drop hips down. Again, that's inhale, press up and rise. Exhale, sink through our chair. Hands down to the seat as we bring ourselves down. So that's our most modified version. Our second option, hands at heart center. On our inhale, we cue chair pose. Shift your weight into your feet. Rise through high chair and then sink low chair. Exhale, touch hips all the way down and lift heart back through center. Again, that's inhale, weight through the feet, lift the heart. Exhale, sink, and then draw hips all the way down. Our most advanced version, using that core. Inhale, arms extend out into our traditional chair. Draw in the low belly. Inhale, shift forward, lift through high chair, and sink. From here, arms stay extended as we drop hips down. And release. So I like to do a whole variety of those, give students a way to work through it, so give them a couple of minutes to try it on their own. Our second version of this, we're going to lift up into our chair, sink nice and low, modified to your version, and we're going to pulse. Nice deep breaths as we drop the shoulders down for 3, 2, 1. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, hands through heart center. Great job. For this next one, we're going to turn around and face our chair. We're going to look at how we can modify a standing forward fold. Let's have our feet about as wide as the chair. A good rule of thumb is that the wider the feet, the more supportive it is of the low back. On our inhale, we'll sweep our arms up. Exhale, option to fold, hands to the seat of the chair. Now students can do this with straight legs, or you can cue them to bend their knees, maybe bend their elbows. They can even bring their forehead down to the chair for support. They can rest their forehead on the chair and wrap their hands around their legs, or reach hands towards the earth or to a block. Second option is just a regular standing forward bend, a couple feet back from the chair. Inhale as arms reach up. Exhale into a forward fold. Again, we can practice with straight knees or bent knees. Head comes down as we shake it out. On our inhale, we'll rise and come up, nice and slow. Let's turn now and face forward. We can see now how the feet are a little bit wider than the hips. On our inhale, we'll engage core, sweep arms up, and exhale into a classic side bend. Inhale, reach up, and exhale, side bend. If you'd like to turn this into core exercise, we'll sweep arms up, exhale, side bend, and pulse. Sweep up, release, and pulse. I like to include these as a part of the standing warm-up portion of the class. Next, we're going to focus on our warrior series. So we're going to place that chair back at the front of the mat, backside of the chair facing us, making sure at least 2 of the legs are on the mat. Turning to face the chair, we're going to step back into warrior 1. Let's take our right foot forward, right between the chair legs, and step back 3 to 4 feet with that left foot. Back foot is angled down at a 45-degree angle. We'll place our hands on our hips and then square them to the chair. For stability, students can hold the front of the chair. Notice a slight incline in the upper back here in that spine. Eyes look straight ahead. For a more challenging variation, students might draw their hands through heart center, or inhale, extend the arms up to the sky. This is our warrior 1. We'll take a nice big breath in. Exhale as we engage the core and tip forward into humble warrior. All of our weight is up here on this front foot. This back foot is super light, like we could lift right off of it. Inhale, lift heart, warrior 1. Exhale, straighten the front knee, and we'll tip into pyramid. We can start with hands to the back of the chair, hips tip back, heart tips forward. Option 2, take hands to the back of the seat of the chair, a little bit deeper here. So we're here, here. We can take hands down to the bar of the chair and then drop the head. If students are feeling up for it, you might drop hands down to the mat, or if they prefer, they can balance and rest their hands just below the knee. Focus on pulling the front hip back and pushing the back hip forward. To rise out of pyramid, we're going to walk our way up the chair just like a ladder. Then soften the front knee and reach back up into our warrior one. And take a big breath in here. On our exhale, we'll transition into warrior three. So remember how all this weight is in our front foot. We're going to shift forward, take our hands to the back of the chair. Shift the weight, bend the knee, lift off, and lift back leg. We have a ton of ways we can modify our warrior three. So for starters, we can start with those back toes down. Maybe a soft bend in this front knee. Students can practice little lifts of this back leg. They might shift all the way forward, lifting that leg nearer to hip height. Draw in the elbows, eyes look straight down as we tip the upper body forward. Option to extend one arm back or both arms back. Everybody falls over, even teachers. It's a good reminder. More challenging option, extend one arm forward. Release and switch. And release. To get out of our warrior three, we soften front knee, float that leg back. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, step through. Let's release the low back in a forward fold. 3 breaths. On our inhale, we'll round our back and roll up. Drop the shoulders down. All right, so that was a few of our classic yoga asanas that we can modify using our chair, and they're a little bit more simple to teach than some of the other poses we'll cover later on in this section. As always, if you have any questions, please reach out. Hey there, in this section we're going to cover power asanas, yoga poses that require a little bit more strength and focus than some of the other poses we've covered, and they require a little bit more intricate cueing as well from us teachers. We're going to begin with our chair, back side of it facing us, 2 legs at least on the mat. Stepping into a warrior 2 position. Right foot forward, left foot steps back, taking up a lot of space here. We'll inhale, stretch our arms out to a T. Now I'd like you to check in with that back foot. I teach 45-degree angle. Let me tell you why. When our foot is at a 45-degree angle, this back knee is nice and free to bend if it needs to, right? So if for some reason we lose our balance or we feel like we don't have enough strength in the pose, we can soften the load on the knee and the hip. When this foot is turned all the way out to parallel and we sink, we don't have quite as much mobility here in this back knee. It's also taking our hip into extreme external rotation here on the side. So we're going to turn that foot into a 45, sink down into the knee, and just feel how freely the hips can move in and around the socket in this area. So this is our warrior 2, arms stretched out. Option to modify with one hand on the chair and one hand on the hip. Nice and steady here. So if we're in our traditional warrior 2, we're going to sink into that front knee. Take a big breath in. Then exhale, drop the front hand down to the chair, bend the elbow and reach up to the sky for standing extended side angle. If students feel imbalanced, they can look down to the ground, or for a challenge, up to the sky. We can reach that top arm straight up or take it as a straight line up and over the ear. Option to drop the elbow down to the thigh. Or if you're feeling flexible, fingers down towards the mat or to the chair. But most of us are going to be here or here supported on our chair with our students. On our inhale, we'll take it up to our warrior two, and then exhale, reverse warrior. We can modify our reverse warrior by coming out of the knee slightly, tucking chin to the chest and looking down to the ground. Advanced practitioners might lift the gaze and look to the sky. Inhale to our warrior two. On our exhale, we'll place our hand on the chair, straighten the front knee, and then tip the hips to the back of the mat. Bend into the front elbow and tip forward, triangle pose. Option to keep hand at the top. Take it down to the seat of the chair, to the bar of the chair, or hand down to the earth or to a block. Eyes look down to the mat for balance. Inhale, lift the heart, and as you do, softly bend the knee. Exhale, take it back, reverse triangle. Again, we can modify chin to chest. Inhale through our warrior two. Take a big breath in. Exhale, turn all 10 toes towards the side of the mat and drop into a wide leg forward fold. With wide feet, it's a little easier for the hands to get down. We can still modify by taking a block underneath. You might have students go over to the right leg, maybe over to the left leg, back through center, and then to rise, we softly bend the knees, and come on up. Okay, let's step out of this, give it a good shake, take a breath or two. All right, so we have our warrior, right? That's that foot forward, foot back at a 45-degree angle, hips are moving freely side and to center. I like to teach this first because it's a nice way to ground through the feet. Then we move into the more advanced lunge. So in lunge, instead of our feet being in this nice line, our feet are on skis. We're going to cue right foot forward, both hands on the chair. Big step back with the left foot. This time, heel stays lifted off the mat. Now, students can wiggle the right foot out to the right side for a wider stance and more balance. For this one, I strongly recommend hands on the back of the chair, but if students are feeling balanced, they might take hands to heart center or even extend those arms up above the head. Try to avoid bending this back knee. Straighten the back knee and then press that heel long down and back. This is our high lunge. We can get into warrior three from high lunge. Big breath in. Exhale, shift the weight forward, lift the back leg, and then float back into our high lunge. To get out of this, we'll just step through and shake it out. Excellent job. For this next part of the video, we're going to turn our chair around so that the seat faces us. Okay, we're going to work on half moon. Half moon is a really fun balancing posture that we can modify in a lot of ways. To get into half moon, we want to find a warrior two position first. Right foot forward, left foot back at that nice 45-degree angle, arms stretched out. Half moon is a really great peak to pose, so we're getting here after we've gone through our extended side angles, our triangles. The body feels nice and balanced and warmed up. So let's stretch out. Here's our warrior two. On our inhale, we're going to sink into an extended side angle. Hand comes down to the chair, we bend into the front knee, top arm reaches to the sky. Inhale, warrior two. Now the same motion to get into our half moon. Hand to the seat, shift the weight into the front foot, slide the hand back, and then we're gonna lift. Back toe slide in, and lift up off the mat. Top arm reaching up to the sky. For balance, eyes can look down to the chair. Now we can modify by having the back toes down and the top hand on the hip. So maybe our students practice just lifting for a couple seconds. Maybe a soft bend in the front knee to help. Eventually, they may feel balance enough to lift that back leg up. Now to come out of our half moon, it's very important that we sink back into a warrior two. So bend that front knee, step the foot back, extend, turn all 10 toes towards the side, and fold, let it go. Inhale as we rise, reach up. And exhale, hands to heart center. And release. All right, I hope you found something new in these videos here, and you feel confident enough to teach them and introduce your students to a few new ways to modify standing poses. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Good job. In this section, we're going to cover low body conditioning and how these exercises can help improve balance. So targeting ankles, knees, hips, quads, hamstrings, and calves. We're going to start with a simple hip mobility exercise. Feet started not as wide as hips, maybe a little wider. Hands on hips, and we're going to go a little side to side. So we're just lifting up that opposite heel, shifting the weight from foot to foot. If students like, they can add a little bend in the knee and a little bounce to either side. Cue nice deep breaths here, maybe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Okay, through center. Now we're going to move into a side step. So we're going to step out with one side, bring the foot in, big step, and switch. Step, switch, step, switch. Slight bend in the knees, almost like a squat. Beautiful. Let's make this a little bit more challenging. So we can stay here, or we can cue step, slide that foot up into tree, step, tree, nice and slow. Maybe tree to the calf, maybe tree to the ankle, maybe tree up towards the thigh. Beautiful. Make sure we find that focus point. And release. Go ahead and shake it out and take a breath. Okay, for the next exercise, we're going to grab our chair. Let's bring the back side of the chair so it faces us. Hands on it right here. Standing on our left foot, we're going to extend the right leg out to the side. This is a standing lateral leg lift. For more of a challenge, we keep the foot floating the whole time. To modify, we drop the foot, lift it, drop, and lift. And switch sides. I like to remind students that most of us have a stronger side and a more balanced side. And so that's going to be really evident in these kinds of exercises. And release. Shake it out. Now transitioning, hands on the back of the chair. If you can look down towards my feet here, we're going to do full calf raises. So lifting all the way up on the toes and down. Nice straight line with the body. To make it more challenging, we might rest hands on hips. Full calf raises. About 10 to 15 of those. Rest. Then transition into our mini lift. Hands come back to the seat of the chair. Lift up into our full calf raise and pulse without our heels touching. I like to call this a microwave exercise. So when you're standing at the microwave, waiting for your food to be ready, you can place the hands on the table and work the calves. 3, 2, 1, and release. Roll out the ankles. Each side. get into a stretch. Placing both hands on the back of the chair, we're going to bend our right knee. We can stay here or reach hand back for the foot for our quad stretch. Option to maybe reach for a pant leg or a sock if you have one. Very good. In a separate section, band straps and weights, we'll show how to modify this pose with a strap. Okay. Switching sides, standing quad stretch. Release. Let's move standing quad stretch into dancer pose. Let's grab that right foot again, standing on our left leg. From here, we're going to keep that hand on the chair, squeeze the right elbow into the side, tip forward, and then kick the foot into the hand. So we have most of our weight on our standing leg and on the chair. Nice deep breaths here. Option 2, maybe extend that front arm, but most of us aren't going to be there today, including me. And release. Looking at it from the other side, that standing elbow squeezes in, bend the knee, kick the foot into the hand as we tip forward at the waist. Dancer pose. And release. Let's focus now on strength and balance together. Getting into a warrior 3. Let's step back into high lunge. Right foot forward, left foot back, hands on the seat of the chair. Squeeze elbows into the sides, lift off, warrior 3. Keeping both hands on the chair, we're going to bend the knee and pulse for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Second variation, bottom leg stays straight and we pulse the back leg for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Of course, repeating on second side. The last standing balance we're going to look at is tree pose. We're going to turn sideways so our hand is resting on the back side of the chair. And then we're going to ground down through that same side foot. So grounded leg is always the foot that's closest to the chair. Placing our opposite hand on our hip, we're going to open up that free knee. From here, find a focus point, a spot on the wall, or a spot on the floor. Now we can stay here with the foot at the ankle, toes down. Option 2, slide the foot up to the calf. This is where most of us are going to be. Remember, it's okay if we have to step out. If we do that, take a breath and reset. Nice and slow. Tree pose is a progression. If we feel balance, option to extend our free arm. Maybe we float the hand on the chair away. Maybe we extend that arm up to the sky. Release in the same way we came in, hand to chair, hand to hip, foot down, and let it go. So take some time with tree. I like to do it twice on both sides, so giving your students a chance to get into the flow with it and challenge themselves a little bit. If you have any questions about any of these more challenging standing balance and conditioning postures, feel free to reach out. Hey there, welcome to the prop portion of our chair yoga training. For this section and video, we're going to work on straps. So go ahead and grab a yoga strap. If you don't have a yoga strap handy, you could use something like a bath towel belt, bathrobe belt, or a regular belt works really fine, or you can roll up a yoga blanket or a regular blanket into a long log shape and use that as well. So getting our strap, we're going to start with a couple of stretches. Let's take that strap down underneath the feet. Holding onto the strap with both hands, we're going to extend both legs out, feet flex back towards the face. So notice how the strap is more up towards the toes than it is on the arch. This gives us a deeper stretch. So this is our double leg forward fold. We can bend at the waist, tip forward. We can drop that foot down and go into single leg, one leg extended, straight out in front. Flex the foot and push the heel away from you. Moving the strap into one hand, we can open it out for external rotation. Bring it back through center, and then drop that foot down. And of course, switching sides. Our neutral rotation, hip facing forward, and external rotation, hip out to the side. And bringing that foot back through. Focusing now on the upper body, let's take the strap about as wide as the knees. Fingers point down towards the mat. On our inhale, we'll engage the core, reach the arms up above, and then exhale, side bend to the right. We're gently pulling on the right side of the strap to get a stretch in the left side of the body. Inhale, reach up, and exhale to the left. Inhale, reach up, and exhale, bring the hands down to the knees. So another exercise that we've practiced earlier in the training that utilizes straps, up and over. We're going to take that strap nice and wide, scoot forward slightly on the chair. On our inhale, we reach it up. Exhale, drop the shoulders down the back. Inhale, bring it up. And exhale, over. So if students are having a hard time, aka they're bending their elbows to get that strap to go over, cue them to take the strap wider. And vice versa, if they need more of a challenge, just take a shorter strap. Okay. Now we're gonna work on cow face pose, Gomukhasana. I'm gonna turn sideways so you can see. From seated in our chair, we're gonna drape the strap down around with the right hand up, and then reach through behind the back with the left hand. Grab onto the strap with the left hand, and then pull down until the right elbow starts to point up to the sky. Then we can slowly work that left hand up the strap, both fingers towards each other. Draw in the core, keep the low back from arching. Take a big breath in. Exhale, option to tip forward at the waist into our cow face stretch. Coming up. Secondary option, you can cross right knee over left knee, just like an eagle pose, and tip forward at the waist. And release. Just to demonstrate that on second side, strap reaches up and over, left hand drops it down, right arm reaches around for the base of the strap. We pull the left hand down first, then work that right hand up towards the shoulder. We can stay here, we can tip forward, we can take an eagle variation, knee over knee, and fold. And release. So straps help us get into what are called binds, so deeper yoga postures, especially for the shoulders and the upper back, and that's what we were just doing there. Now we're going to transition to standing to show one way you can use a strap to get deeper into dancer pose. So we demonstrated dancer pose with the chair earlier in this training. Basically, we go from a quad stretch, hand reaching around the foot, and we tip forward into that extension. Now, if grabbing the foot is not accessible, what we can do instead is make a little loop-de-loop with the band, wrap it around so it's on the top of the foot, and then use the hand to pull up the leg. This actually can get you deeper into dancer because you can kick that foot up farther without having to go super deep into the quad stretch. So that looks like from start to finish. We're going to make that loop with the band. Bring it down, capture the outside of the foot, bring it up towards the body. Hold here. On our exhale, plant the hand on the chair, tip forward, kick the foot back into the strap. Option to have the elbow pointed forward or pointed out to the side, just like this. To release, we lift hard first, carefully drop the arm, and release the foot. Excellent job. That's a couple ways you can use straps to help you and your students in a chair yoga class. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Our second prop for this section is a band. So bands come in a lot of different tensions, but for the purpose of a chair yoga class, we're probably going to use extra light through to a medium. This one that I'm using today is a light band, and that means it's going to be a lot more flexible and a little bit easier. Kind of like going to a 3-pound or a 2.5-pound dumbbell. Starting with this band, we're going to wrap it so it's just below the wrists here. Squeeze your elbows towards your sides, make a fist with your hands, and we're going to do a bicep curl. If you're working these into your chair yoga classes, cue those students to engage their core, to sit up tall and drop their shoulders. And then usually I do 10 to 15 reps. So make sure the band isn't coming in towards the belly button. We're keeping it stretched out. That's where we get that tension for our bicep curl. Our second exercise is arm extensions. We're going to reach the hands straight out in front. You can have hands open or make a fist. And we're going to open that strap and close. Making sure to close as slowly as we open. Good. Like with all of these, we're engaging the core. Strong belly, strong upper back. Again, 10 to 15. Bring the students down for a couple breath rest. Maybe roll out the shoulders a few times. And then we can transition into cactus. Band stays just on the wrist where it is. Open your fingers wide. On our inhale, we're going to reach the arms up above the head and stretch the band out just a little bit. This is our inhale. On our exhale, bend the elbows, squeeze the shoulder blades on the back, and drop the band down. Keep the core really strong. Chin tucked slightly to the chest. If students are having a hard time with this, or if their bands are, say, a medium or a heavy and they need to modify, they can grip the band with their fists and then pull from here. It's just a little bit more gentle this way. And release. Switching now from our upper body to our lower body, let's take the band and wrap it around so it's just up above the knee. We're going to need to scoot forward slightly. Resting our hands on our hips, we're going to lift each knee up with that tension on the band. So think about our marching in place as a part of our core portion of our class, but a little bit more challenging. This is one that could be done with a medium to a heavy band, since our quad muscles are a lot bigger than our shoulder muscles. For 3, 2, 1, making sure you're even on both sides. Now scooting even farther forward on the chair, so just the seat. Our seat is just on the edge of this seat. I'm going to place our hands on our hips, open one knee out, and bring it in. Open and close. So the lighter weight bands kind of roll up a little bit, and that's fine. Maybe 10 of these. Ab and adductor exercises. Release. Let's go ahead and switch sides. Another opportunity to remind your students that we usually have one side that's stronger than the other side. One more. And release. Go ahead and drop the band down. From a standing position with the back of our chair facing us, we're going to wrap the band around the lower part of the leg. Keep in mind, the lower the band, the more challenging the exercise. We're going to start with a neutral leg extension. So with both hands on the chair, we'll plant down through our right foot. We're going to tip forward slightly and extend the left leg. Keep that back foot flexed and breathe. Option to place both hands on the hips here, although I recommend hands on the chair just because it reminds us to keep that low belly nice and strong. Our second option is an external rotation, as seen from the side. Plant down through right foot, both hands on the chair, and we'll externally rotate that leg out to the side. Another option is one hand on the chair, hand on the hip, and extend this way. Again, 10 to 15 reps. Maybe you can work your students up to 20 with some practice. And release. So that's a couple of ways that you can utilize a band in your practice. Of course, get creative. You can look on Pinterest, you can utilize Pilates exercises. A lot of these can be modified in the chair with bands and weights and straps. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And our last prop of this section is dumbbells or weights. So right here I have 3-pound weights, but you could use anything from 2.5 up to 5 pounds. Although many of our students seated in chairs will probably be more comfortable around a 2.5 to 3-pound weight. It's important to have a little bit of space when we're using our weights so that our feet are planted down and the low back is not touching the back of the chair. This causes us to engage our core, to pull in that natural weight belt that wraps around the low back, and to have plenty of space to move our arms. We're going to begin with a bicep curl. Squeeze the elbows in towards the sides. Find a full extension of the arm here. You can alternate one side at a time, or do all reps on one side and then switch. This is generally a little bit more gentle on the back, and better if you're using heavier weights than both at the same time. So this is our traditional bicep curl. Next, we're going to take it into a shoulder press. So elbows come out to the sides in our cactus position. Make sure we're holding the weights with nice strong wrists and not floppy wrists. On our inhale, we'll push up, draw weight numbers towards each other, and then exhale, squeeze. Elbows become parallel with the shoulders. Chin tucked slightly to chest. Maybe 10 to 15 reps of each of these. A bit more challenging and dynamic is the Arnold press. Elbows come out, weights face the front of the room. On our inhale, we open up and press. Exhale, draw that big circle back. You might cue students to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth while they're weight training. It helps to remember to engage the core for that one. All right, bringing those weights down. Next, we have a familiar exercise, cactus arms. We're going to find that cactus. On our inhale, we pull the elbows back, lift the heart, lift the chin, and then exhale, draw elbows together, chin to chest. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Only the upper back is arching and rounding. Low back stays steady. And release hands to knees. Focusing now on our triceps. We're going to turn sideways on the chair. Resting one hand and one weight. You can rest it down on the ground actually. On the thigh just like this. We're going to bring the number of the weight to the shoulder and then tip forward. Squeeze the elbow into the sides and go for a tricep kickback. Now we're not letting the arm move all around the body. We're keeping it tucked into the side. Little pause at the top. This again is our tricep kickback. And that looks like on second side. Planted down, hand resting on thigh, number of the weight to the shoulder as we tip forward, and tricep kickback. And rise. All right, and that is a few ways that you can incorporate weights, light to medium weights, in a chair yoga class. Again, just like with the bands and the straps, you can get creative. Look up different classes or tips and techniques on Pinterest. That's what I love to do to keep it fresh for your students. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Hey there, welcome to our floor stretching section. Now, as we discussed in the text of this section, we don't actually include any floor stretching in our standard seated or combination sequence guide. That's because in large groups, in my experience, there are many students who just don't feel comfortable seated on the floor, and I like to be able to cater them so they don't feel called out per se when we stretch in this way. Now, many of these stretches like pigeon pose and goddess pose and dragonfly, they can all be modified in the chair, but there are some that we just can't get in the chair. So if you have students that are comfortable coming down to a seat, these are some poses that are going to be great for them. I want to start out by talking about some of our go-to props for floor stretching. First off is a blanket. You can also use a towel, or if students brought maybe a jacket or something like that with them to class, they can use that as well. The second thing is a nice thick yoga mat. Students who suffer knee trauma or maybe are a little bit older would like a 5mm or thicker yoga mat. Lastly, we have yoga blocks. We're familiar with these. We're going to see a couple of ways that we can use these to help our students modify on the floor as well. So let's just begin in a child's pose. We're going to take this blanket and roll it up into a nice long log. Just like that. Coming onto our hands and knees, we're going to take this, bring it to the inside edge of the knees, and then step the knees wide, a little bit wider than the hips. From here, we're going to sink hips back towards heels and extend the arms. This blanket gives our students a little bit more space to get into this posture without the excess pressure on the knees. We can go into a right stretch, laterally to the right, maybe over to the left, and back through center. And we can come up through table. So another way we can modify child's pose, instead of blanket behind the knees, we can fold up our blanket or our support and place it underneath the knees. Knees go nice and wide in this variation. Toes come back towards each other. Arms sink. Third variation, if your students don't have a blanket or any kind of support, they can instead roll their yoga mat up once or maybe even twice, taking the knees down and then sinking back into our child's pose in this direction. So we have this mat rolling option for anything that's on our knees. Tabletop, child's pose, puppy, or even something like camel pose if you were working on that. Let's go ahead and stretch our mat back out. Finding our tabletop with our blanket underneath our knees. Cue knees about as wide as hips, wrists right underneath shoulders, and drop down into cow. Lift tail, lift heart, and let's rock the hips gently side to side. Round up into cat, chin to chest, and then again, rock hips side to side. And back to our tabletop. One more thing to consider is hands spread out wide takes more of our weight, so it distributes the weight more evenly between the hands and the wrists, so we're not putting so much pressure on the thumbs. Let's move now into a butterfly position, one of my most favorite and one of the more accessible poses that we can use seated on the floor. Drawing those feet together. Students have the option to block up, take a block under each knee, or they can put blankets under there as well. Hands on the knees, we can tip forward and stretch. Maybe add a little side to side. And rise. Transition now into half dragonfly. Let's grab this blanket that we had again. We're going to stretch out our right leg, roll the blanket up. So now it's in a smaller log, And we're going to tuck that blanket underneath the knee. Let's go ahead and grab a block and tuck it underneath the opposite knee as well. Foot is on the inside of the thigh. This blanket supports the knee, so it doesn't have to be as straight. This is good for students who aren't quite as flexible or who maybe have knees that hyperextend. We can take this into a forward fold or a side bend. Now, same options here with full dragonfly. So imagine we had another towel underneath the knee. In this situation, we can go side, side, forward fold, and forward fold. If students have blocks accessible and they would like to use them, we can use our center forward fold here. So take that block a couple of inches out away from the body, hands on the block, bend the elbows, tip forward and fold. They may fold a little or they may fold a lot. Everybody's different in this way. Coming out of this, we're going to take this blanket, move it back behind us as a pillow, and then lay down on our back. Oftentimes, this is a comfortable posture for students who aren't normally comfortable on the ground. The trouble isn't laying on the back, the trouble is getting up and down. So, I like to cue students to have their chair close, either down by their feet or up here by their head so they can drag it to them when they want to sit back up again. Let's pull both knees into the chest. Wrap hands around the backs of the thighs for a more accessible approach, and then rock. Low back against the mat. This is a wonderful pose to transition into Shavasana. From here, we might drop the feet. Take the knees over, windshield wiper to the right, windshield wiper to the left. Maybe knees come to chest. And then we drop them down to the right side for supine spinal twist. Option to extend arms out to a T, looking over opposite shoulder. And over to second side. Then we'll bring those knees into the chest. Give yourself a good squeeze. And release feet to the mat. Now we've visited seated pigeon a couple times. We can get into a deeper version of that from here on the mat. Starting with our most gentle, crossing right leg, ankle over knee. We can stay here, maybe rock slightly side to side. Or if the students would like a deeper stretch, lift that foot up, reach through the space, grab the back of the thigh, or maybe the shin, pull ankle and knee in, and again, we can rock. And release. Lastly, we have supine butterfly or supine bound angle. Draw the inside edges of the feet together and let the knees open up. You can cue students to take a block underneath that knee, both knees, for support. I like to reach arms above the head, open up the heart, and take 5 to 10 deep breaths. Eventually, you'll draw those knees together. Cue the students to roll over to one side. Then they can use the strength of both arms to press themselves back up through a seat, grab their chair, and end their class. So this was a few of the more accessible stretches that you can do down on the floor. Of course, many students are going to be able to do all of the floor stretches on the belly, on the back, seated, but a vast majority of group classes will have students where these are not accessible, and so it's a good idea to just check in with them at the beginning of class. For example, I'll say, "Welcome to class today, everybody. I'd like you to close your eyes. Could you please raise your hand for me if you're uncomfortable on the floor today?" If students raise their hand, then I know to probably skip that for the class. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. So in this section, we've covered restorative yoga poses and how we can use a chair to support us. If you're teaching a flow class, a combo class, or a 100% seated class, you might sub one of these restorative poses for their shavasana. Otherwise, you can extend the duration of these poses out between 5 and 20 minutes to teach a fully restorative chair yoga class. Now I would begin with 5 to 10 minutes of pranayama, maybe circular breathing or block breathing, and then take them into our first restorative posture. Tipping down into a forward fold with our feet about as wide as the chair or slightly wider. Hands might come down to the mat, or we can stack them up on blocks and drop the forehead down. Now this is an inversion with the head below the heart. And anytime we're in an inversion, even if it's restorative yoga, we only hold for 2 to 3 minutes at the most. So holding 2 to 3 minutes in this forward fold. Then we would cue our students to slowly rise with chin to chest. Moving slow, that way we don't get dizzy. Moving next, we're going to go down to the ground. From Sukhasana, a comfortable cross-legged seat, we're going to use our chair to support us. Reach the arms along the edge of the chair and drop the forehead down. This posture we could stay in for a full 20 minutes if we liked. Now students can use a blanket to help support the forehead, or if they'd like a deeper stretch, they can push the chair away from them and instead reach for the bar of the chair and drop the head down, or reach all the way through into this motion here. Next, we're going to look at half dragonfly. With our right leg extended, we'll draw the sole of the left foot into the thigh. Remember, we can take a block, or in this case, a bolster, and tuck it underneath the knee. Same here as in our seated forward fold. Students might reach hands along the chair and then drop their forehead down. Or if they'd like a deeper stretch, they can reach through and grab the seat of the chair here. Okay, now into an extended child's pose. Child's pose, we're going to find that position with a cushion or our mat rolled up underneath our knees. Taking knees nice and wide, we're going to reach through for the bar of the chair, sink the hips back, and then drop the forehead down. Now we can grab the bar of the chair, or if the chair was closer, we can reach through to the sides of the legs, or for an even deeper stretch, palms up to the seat of the chair as the head falls through. Again, 5 to 20 minutes here is just fine. Now moving into our inversions. Let's take our cushion and bring it just to the base of the legs of the chair. We're going to sit with one hip close to the chair, swing around, and then drape the legs over the seat and slowly lower the back down. This is supported waterfall, and it is my favorite pose to use for Shavasana at the end of a combo yoga class. Inversions help to lower blood pressure and to reduce stress, and just generally they feel pretty nice. Students might tuck their feet behind the back of their chair if they have long legs. Also, if they have extremely long legs, they can take a bolster to the seat of the chair and then stack their legs up on that as well. Students might reach arms up above the head or gently rest their hands at their sides. We can stay here anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes. To exit this posture, We bring the feet off the chair and into the chest, giving them a little hug. Then we gently roll over into the fetal position, using our strength or using the chair if we need to help press ourselves up into a seat. All right, so that is a few ways that you can use a chair to help support you in a restorative yoga class. Remember, this type of class might have only 5, maybe 6 at the most poses. So we encourage a lot of stillness and a lot of space for our students in these types of classes. Of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Welcome to the final training video of this course. We are going to look at Shavasana and a few Shavasana techniques that can be modified for 100% seated or a combo seated chair yoga class. Now, just like in all yoga classes, Shavasana is extremely important. It gives our mind an opportunity to catch up with our body. So our body has worked hard throughout our practice, our mind has been very focused, then our body gets to rest and our mind gets to rest, so we wake up feeling rejuvenated and ready for the rest of our day. Now, lying flat on our back in a traditional corpse pose is not always comfortable or accessible for students. And a lot of the cool down poses that we might have, like lying on our back or lying on our side, are also not accessible to many students. So I'd like to show you a few ways that we can cool down while seated in a chair, and then a couple options that they have for Shavasana. So we would practice these after we've done all of our core work, all of our final look at stretching, and then we're into that cool down period of class. Beginning with our feet flat. I like to cue the students to take a deep breath, to release the practice that they've had, to sit comfortably back against their chair and relax all their muscles, and then gently roll the neck. A few circles each way. Reverse. And back through center. Let's stretch the wrists out to our sides and do a few rolls here. While we're at it, let's roll the ankles, stretch the toes and the fingers. We'll go ahead and relax the feet. And let's stretch our wrists. We're going to press into the back of one hand, gently roll from the thumb to the finger. And then pressing into the palm, fingers back towards the elbow. Switching sides. Pressing into the palm. And release. A secondary wrist stretch, hands straight out, fingers point up to the sky, point fingers towards the ears, and then we're going to lift those palms up and slowly drop it down. Keeping that tension here. Now flip, fingers curl in towards the armpits, slowly lift up, and slowly lower down. And release. Now you may be familiar with a technique called tapping. I like to use it in all of my yoga classes, but I feel that it's especially effective in chair yoga because of the way that we're seated. So we're going to learn half body tapping today, which means from the waist up. We're going to start with our feet down. Rest your non-dominant hand on your knee and take the dominant hands to the crown of the head. On our inhale, we're going to tap. Medium to firm pressure with our center free fingers. We're going to move through the lymphatic zones on the body, and the sensitivity may increase as we go along. Take a big breath in. Exhale to the center of the forehead. Inhale. Exhale between the eyebrows. Inhale. Exhale, both hands now to the sides of the eyes, on the bone, not on the temple. Inhale. Exhale underneath the eyes, again on the bone. Inhale. Exhale beneath the nose and the mouth. Inhale. Exhale to the lower jaw, just below the ear. Inhale. Exhale, we'll make a fist and use that fist to go through the center of the chest. And we can tap with medium to firm pressure here, up towards each collarbone. You can actually feel or hear the vibration from hitting the chest. Inhale. Exhale, we're going to go to that little space beneath the collarbone on either side, and we're going to tap here. This is commonly very sore. Inhale. Exhale, lift to one elbow, go about 4 inches underneath the armpit. We can tap side to side or in gentle circles. And switch. Release hands to knees, palms face up. Feel the energy flow along the body. And gently open eyes. Getting ready to cue for our final Shavasana, that final relaxation. This is how I like to cue my students. We're going to get ready for our Shavasana now. If you'd like to stay seated, you are more than welcome to do that. I'm going to stay seated with you. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to lie flat on the ground or to stack your legs up on your chair in a supported waterfall position. If you'd like to stay seated, you might rest your hands on your knees, or if you like, you can take your legs up into a comfortable seated position. That supported waterfall, we carefully move our chair so that the back side of it faces us. Lower ourselves down using our chair if we need to. Placing our hands behind our back and then stack the feet up on the chair. We'll slowly lower the heart down. You might rest your palms at your sides, or if you prefer, reach your arms up above your head. Wherever you end at today, I'd like you to try to melt into the floor or melt into your chair. Thank your body for all the hard work that it's done in your practice today. We'll stay here until the sound of my voice brings us back out. Very good job. So just like in any traditional class, we want to take 5 at the least to maybe 10 minutes for our Shavasana. Okay. If students are lying down on their back, I don't usually cue them to sit up for our final namaste and have them take hands over heart, bow to themselves, congratulate themselves on their practice, and then they can slowly rise on their own time instead of feeling rushed by everybody in class. As always, you can make this your own. If you know some other poses that might be comfortable for your students in their chair or down on the ground, give it a try. See what they think. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Good job through this training. Hey there, congratulations on completing your chair yoga training. I hope after this course you feel confident and excited as a teacher to bring this knowledge out to your students in the world. Please remember that you have access to this course for life and all of its content, and I will always be here. I'm really not that busy, so feel free to reach out to me at any time with questions, or if you need support, or if you're interested in any additional type of training, I would love to support you in that way. Good luck, and feel free, and remember to check out that additional resources section of this training. There's a ton of helpful information in there. Have a nice day.